Monday, June 23rd, here on the Just Baseball Show. That's Arm Layden. I am Peter Apple. And Arm, get those fingers ready. It's time for the weekend roundup, where we go through every game that was over the past weekend. And it's all brought to you by the sportsbook born in Vegas. Remember, folks, download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code JustBaseball. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first wager loses. But remember, gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. Aram, before we get into the MLB slate, let's talk a little college baseball. Congratulations to the LSU Tigers for winning the College World Series, an undefeated run in Omaha to get there. They took down an incredible Arkansas team with 7 players on our top 300 draft prospects big board, which you can find on justbaseball.com. Then they took down Coastal Carolina, who had won 25 straight games going into the championship series. But Cade Anderson was unbelievable. 9 inning shutout, 130 pitches. And then they did just enough, even smacking around Jacob Morrison, one of the best pitchers in this draft, a guy you loved. They were just unstoppable. And that is now their second College World Series title over the last 3 years.
It was ridiculous watching what Cade Anderson did again, but also 130 pitches is crazy for a guy that's probably going to go top 5 in this draft, though. But left it all out on the field. You love to see that passion, and it's crazy because it's also not only the only time he went 130 pitches this year. Cade Anderson went 135 pitches against Oklahoma back in I believe it was May in a complete game, 14 strikeout performance there too. They sent out a survey, NCAA did, of for all people that were covering the College World Series to vote on the most outstanding player and kind of just the all College World Series team. The most outstanding player was very easy, and they sent that out before the second game was over, and I was like, this game could go into extras. Somebody could hit 4 home runs, and the most outstanding player of the College World Series has to be Cade Anderson for what he did. And it's weird with a pitcher comparing pitcher to hitter, but Cade Anderson put them on his back, and him being able to go CG there. It took so much pressure off of the pitching staff, and then he saw Ianson throw well, and then they had Shores fresh and available throwing 101 out of the pen, which is just a joke. In college baseball now, we've got guys throwing 101. The LSU's a force, man, and they're the program. They're the premier program in college baseball right now. I don't think there's any doubting that with what they've been able to do the last several years, and there's always a threat to go out there and win it. But the pitching, man, just continues to be so impressive there too.
So impressive. And Jay Johnson, after that first game where Cade Anderson dominated, basically said, who else are the Nationals going to take? And of course, I'm paraphrasing here, but he was just talking up his guy, how he thinks he's the best player in the country and should go number 1 overall to the Washington Nationals. And it's hard to disagree. Now, for me, I would take him number 1. I put that out on Twitter, but at the same time, I have not watched any of these high schoolers. And in our most recent mock draft, which again you can find on justbaseball.com, the on the clock guys have Eli Willits going number 1. And I know Ethan Holiday's name has been thrown around there. And it's not set in stone that Cade Anderson is even the number 1 overall pick or even the number 1 college player taken in this draft. Of course, there's Iva Arquette from Oregon State and plenty of other names. But when I watch Cade Anderson, that changeup is unbelievable. His breaking ball is fantastic. And it's 95 with 19 to 20 inches of vert. And he's just going after guys. And you know who he reminds me of? And I know you hate pro comps, but I hope you can see this a little bit. We were talking about it in the Discord. And again, if you want to join the Discord, the link is in the episode description. Cade Anderson reminds me of Max Fried.
Yeah, I think Jack was even saying that the other day
No,
a
I
little
said it
bit
before
too.
him, way before him. He doesn't know anything.
The delivery is pretty similar, and I mean the way that he fills up the zone is just crazy. Um, it's one of those things where you might be grabbing slightly lower ceiling than maybe a couple other guys, but this is somebody that you look at the national situation as well. You can get this guy in your big league rotation by the end of the year. when you
Yeah.
draft him. Like he could be in that rotation by the end of the 2026 season. You're seeing the way Chase Burns is flying through the minor leagues, ready to make his MLB debut really soon. I think today, as people are listening to this, um, Cade Anderson's a guy that could fly through the minor leagues, and at worst, even if he doesn't attain his ceiling, he's at least going to land as a back end of the rotation starter. So I would sleep very soundly drafting a Cade Anderson. There's no doubt about that.
And I think the Nationals would probably save a little bit of money.
Yeah,
Correct?
you could
Wouldn't you
probably
probably?
underslot him a good bit. Yeah,
Yeah. And also on Chase Burns, isn't he throwing Tuesday against the Yankees?
Tuesday,
Not
Tuesday.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that was our little college baseball recap. Any other notes from the College World Series that you wanted to touch on before we move on to the
I mean,
roundup?
Coastal. I mean, what a season from them.
Yeah.
That's another program that is just so impressive since they won the College World Series about 10 years back, and just to continue to just be a force since then. Crazy to see a coach tossed in an elimination game in the first inning. I think it takes two to tango there. You can't argue balls and strikes, and in an elimination game, I'd probably be a little bit more careful than Coastal's head coach was, but on the other side, it's kind of nuts to toss a guy in the first inning there. And I don't think that decided the game one way or another, but it is an unfortunate way for that to go. And I think in my experience, just obviously don't cover college baseball as much as is professional. It does seem like the ump shows are a little bit more prevalent in college baseball than in the pro ranks from what I see.
And then on top of it, the first base coach also got thrown out, and one of the umpires like kind of looked like he flopped.
Yeah, I think he just ate
Yeah.
shit. And then he just puts two fingers up in space because as you're suspended now too. Like what? Like
That is
okay. If it
that
went to
is
game three, they wouldn't have had their coach for game three either. Like that part was pretty insane to me.
absolutely brutal. But congratulations to LSU, College World Series champions again. Go Tigers. But now it's time to talk some Major League Baseball. Without further ado, Aram, get into your series.
Yeah, we got some fun ones. And we're gonna start with Braves Marlins and an MLB debut. Didier Fuentes versus Jansen Junk. Of course, it was Fuentes making his debut. Liam Hicks got the scoring started with an RBI single in the second inning before Agustin Ramirez blew things open with a 3-run shot in the third. It was his 11th to make it 4-0. Matt Olson's RBI single put the Braves on the board in the fourth, but the Marlins got one back in the sixth via an Eric Wagaman double and another in the seventh with another Agustin Ramirez hit, this time an RBI single. Austin Riley solo homered in the eighth, but that's more for scorekeeping purposes as the Marlins won 6-2. That said, Didier Fuentes was better than the stat line may reveal. It's an elite fastball. He flew through the minor leagues and made his debut at just 20 years old. And he just turned 20 years old, like I think a week or two ago. At 20 years old, he became the youngest pitcher to start a game since Julio Urias in 2019 and is the youngest Braves arm to just toe the rubber since 1970. His line, 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 1 walk, 3 Ks. Jansen Junk continues to shove. 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, no walks, 5 Ks, ERA down to 2.6. Game 2, Grant Holmes versus Yuri Perez. Yuri continuing to get his feet back under him after Tommy John surgery. Grant Holmes has been on a heater for the most part on the mound. Yuri was decent, but the stuff flashed great. That said, it was all Braves in this one. Marcelo Ozuna doubled in the first to make it 1-0, but then Perez kept the Braves in check until the fifth when Ronald Acuna smacked an RBI double and Austin Riley an RBI single to make it 3-0. Drake Baldwin put the icing on the cake in the ninth with a 3-run shot, his 8th of the year, but Grant Holmes was effectively wild in this one, and that's all they needed. 5 2/3, 5 hits, no earned runs, 5 walks, and 5 Ks. Yuri Perez, 4 2/3, 4 hits, 3 runs. All of those were earned. 2 walks and 6 strikeouts. But again, the stuff was stuffing. And I think you got to be encouraged by that overall. The execution will continue to come back as he gets more innings under his belt. Proof of that would be Sandy Alcantara, who's starting to settle in. And he got the ball in game 3 against Bryce Elder. The Braves drew first blood with an Austin Riley RBI single in the first before the Marlins answered with a Kyle Stowers solo shot, his first home run since May 14th and his 11th of the year. The Braves regained the lead via a Drake Baldwin single in the top of the third, but the Marlins tied it up again with an Otto Lopez RBI single in the home half. Lopez struck again with an RBI knock in the 5th inning to gain the lead, followed by a Dane Myers RBI single to go up 4-2. The Braves climbed within one, but an Xavier Edwards RBI single in the sixth made it 5-3, and that's where things would stay. Another quality start, though, from Sandy Alcantara, and that's the story here, because the Braves have actually had his number over the last, handful of starts against them. Sandy goes 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. His last 4 starts, 23 innings, a 2.74 ERA, a 1.00 WHIP, 19 strikeouts, and 5 walks. That's 4 consecutive quality starts for Sandy Alcantara. All of a sudden, he's starting to look, even if it's not like Cy Young Sandy, if it's 70% of Sandy, he's going to be highly coveted. And we're seeing a trade market that might be relatively thin because not a lot of teams are sellers. If Sandy keeps this rolling he's probably going to make another 4 starts before the trade deadline, maybe a fifth. All of a sudden, we're right back to where we were, where it's let's get the mock trades going, and this guy could be bringing in a crazy haul.
Outside of Sandy himself, do you think there's anyone happier to see him look better and better after each and every start other than Peter Bendix, the general manager of the Marlins?
No,
It's like every
there's
start,
very few.
every start he adds another prospect. And then every start after that, it's like, well, now that prospect's a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And now you can recoup what you thought you could for the guy who won a unanimous Cy Young, and when he's right, is still one of the better pitchers in baseball with years of control.
Yep, yep, 100%. And I will say that disappointing series from the Braves. I understand it wasn't their A team of pitchers the way it lined up with Fuentes, Holmes, and Elder. But at the same time, probably a series you want to take 2 out of 3 of. It just seems like it's really hard for this team to string together, I think, consistent offense because there's several gaping holes right now. I mean, Acuna has been awesome. Riley's putting together good ABs. Matt Olson's putting together good ABs. Drake Baldwin's putting together good ABs. But Mike Harris is an automatic out right now. Ozzy Albies is not too far off of that either. And I do think that's weighing them down right now a little bit. I know they're playing fine overall, but I think it's just kind of keeping them from being able to really hit their stride here. I mean, Mike Harris is it kills me because he's been one of my favorite players to watch, but it's the same swing, it's the same setup, and it's the same bad results, and there's no adjustments being made.
That was going to be my takeaway. Wanted to discuss Michael Harris with you because after another series of going 1 for 12, his OPS is down to 585. Michael Harris is hitting 223 with 6 homers. Now he's got a couple of bags, right? He's got 11, but this is not the Michael Harris we were promised. This is not even Michael Harris.
He hasn't walked since May 18th.
That deserves a slight moment of silence.
Like, what? You can be aggressive, but he hasn't
I mean,
walked since May 18th.
so we're going to talk about it in the Mets series, which is actually the last series we're going to talk about how the Mets decided, all right, we're going to send down Francisco Alvarez.
Yeah.
Is it crazy to send him down?
I think
He's just 24.
I don't think it's crazy at this point. If he continues to give away at bats the way that he is, I think you got to consider it. A 43% chase rate and a 53% ground ball rate tells me mechanics aren't there and he's not seeing the ball very well.
Yeah.
Those are 2 reasons to go and maybe rework some things in AAA. And I don't think that would be outrageous to do at this point. I mean, sub 600 OPS when you've got a 90th percentile exit velocity of 108.5 miles per hour is really hard to do.
And it's not like he looks like he's getting better and better.
No.
It's just the same thing. Just like you said, the mechanics are the same. His approach is the same. Nothing is getting fixed, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. So the Braves can just keep rolling him out there. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. That's what it looks like when I watch Michael Harris right now.
Yep.
It's just the same thing over and over, expecting that sooner or later it's going to kick in. The only way it might kick in is if you send him down and get him retooled.
Yeah, I agree. And it's because he's not even whiffing that much. It's 89% in zone contact. It's just brutal quality, and it's brutal swing decisions.
Yeah, brutal swing decisions.
But I mean, you got some other guys going. Albie struggling is kind of crazy too. But if they're gonna be able to really push this thing across and be a threat out of the NL East, like they need those guys to be swinging it better. So I'm interested to see how they handle that. I really am.
Series number two.
Nationals Dodgers. Game one, Clayton Kershaw versus Mackenzie Gore is a fun pitching matchup. Ahmed Rosario started the party with a solo homer in the first, his fourth of the year. Then the Dodgers answered back in the third inning, grinding out 3 runs on a fielder's choice, an RBI single, and another RBI knock by Andy Pages. A Shohei Ohtani RBI single in the fourth extended the Dodgers' lead to 4-1. However, the Nationals would not go quietly. Riley Adams homered in the fifth to make it 4-2. Then Miguel Rojas provided the Dodgers more cushion with a 2-run shot of his own. Luis Garcia brought the Nationals back to within 2 with a 2-run double in the seventh. And then CJ Abrams really put the pressure onto Tanner Scott with a home run, a solo shot in the ninth to make it 6-5. But Scott was able to shut the door for his 15th save. Kershaw outduels Gore. 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned, 4 Ks. Gore allowed 5 earned over 5 2/3. Kersh earns his 215th win and is now just 8 strikeouts away from 3,000. Go to game 2. Dustin May versus Jake Irvin. This was a crazy solo shot battle, back and forth. That was scoreless through 3, and then you got the solo shot show. James Wood started things off with the longest Dodger Stadium homer of the year, 451 feet, his 21st, followed by a Luis Garcia homer to make it 2-0. Andy Pages got his shot in the fifth to cut the lead in half, his 16th of the season. Then Nathaniel Lowe and Will Smith exchanged solo homers in the sixth. CJ Abrams gave the Nationals some cushion with a 2-run shot in the seventh to make it 5-2. And Nathaniel Lowe tacked on another with his second home run of the game. A Ruiz sac fly extended things to 7-2. And Teoscar Hernandez snuck one out in garbage time, solo shot to make it 7-3, but that's where things would finish. Jake Irvin gets the win, going 5 1/3, 2 earned runs, no walks, 7 strikeouts, while Dustin May allowed 3 earned over 6 innings, striking out 5. Game 3, Mike Soroka versus Shohei Ohtani, the opener, who again looks really awesome, even though it sucks because I always want to see him go more than one.
I know.
Like now, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's throwing fuel, but I'm just happy to see him back on the mound. Mike Soroka, who we highlighted as like an underrated potential, could bring in a haul on the last mailbag. He validated that. More on that in a second. But Nathaniel Lowe started things off, staying hot in this series. A 3-run home run in the third inning to make it, of course, 3-0. But then in the bottom of the sixth, so 3 runs, that held all the way into the bottom of the sixth, Max Muncy launched a grand slam to make it 4-3, giving the Dodgers the lead. Then you get to the seventh inning, Shohei Ohtani tripled to right. That brought in 3 more runs as well, clearing the bases, making it 7-3, and then it just kept going from there. Mookie Betts added another with an RBI single. Then Max Muncy struck again with a 3-run shot to make it 11-3. And just to make it more fun, Shohei Ohtani tacked on a 2-run homer of his own to make it 13-3. The Nationals did put up a little bit of a fight in the ninth and rallied for 4 runs to make the final score 7-13. But the really fascinating part of this is you look at the score, you hear all the runs break down, you're like, okay, wow, it was all Dodgers all game. Well, not really, right? Because it was 3-0 Nationals until that bottom of the sixth. Mike Soroka was the reason why. He went 5 1/3, 2 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 10 Ks in that outing. But it was just another Nationals bullpen disaster where you just had runs being given up left and right and ultimately just given away. A really good start from Mike Soroka. Shohei Ohtani, scoreless inning as the opener, punched out 2.
Mike Soroka. You're in your prospect mind, Mike Soroka.
Mike Soroka.
But you did say something earlier that has me questioning your ball knowledge for the first time. The final
Who's that?
score's 7-13. You're putting the losing score first. That's the number one sign of a dork.
I know. I was talking about the Nats, so I had to do it that way.
True. I'll give you a pass. So my takeaway is on the Nats. And, I mean, they've been just playing terrible baseball lately, right? They had an 11-game losing streak. Their manager, Dave Martinez, says, not my fault at all. It's not my fault. It's all on the players. Obviously, losing the locker room, and it's been really, really bad. But the Nationals have just overall had a tough season, right? They're 32-46. By record, they are one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. And Foolish Baseball, he tweeted this out, and it really spurred the thought into my mind. And I quote, I don't think people realize how badly the Nationals rebuild is going. It's assumed that they're about to turn the corner and be good, but I'm just not seeing it. And that kind of made me go, wait a minute. I keep pushing the Nationals forward when they don't deserve it at all. And it really comes from the Juan Soto trade. What a deal, right? You get James Wood, you get CJ Abrams, you get Mackenzie Gore, and a couple of other pieces. Mackenzie Gore is one of the best pitchers in the league. Abrams has been one of the best shortstops, and James Wood has just straight up been one of the best players. And then you look at the rest of the team. Luis Garcia is the only one holding his head above water. Nate Lowe, below average. Josh Bell, way below. Brady House has come up and done nothing. Dalen Lyle, I barely know who that is, unfortunately. I don't mean to say that.
Yeah, but
Shout out.
those are two rookies.
Yeah, Ruiz has a 612 OPS.
Yeah, I mean,
Jacob Young has a 607 OPS. There's no real pitchers in their rotation right now because Irvin's been fine. Michael Soroka, you know,
what
to
about CJ Abrams?
no, I talked about CJ Abrams at the
Yeah.
beginning. I was like, everyone else outside of the Juan Soto trade
Oh.
has been a
Yeah,
disaster. So it's like they do have that core from that trade and not really anything else working for them.
Cruz has been hurt, so he's lost out on that development time, obviously, because he was not playing great. He was starting to come to life before that strained oblique, but like you have Dylan Cruz. I think the floor is clearly high with a guy like that because he's going to be playing in great center field. I think when you have Abrams, James Wood looks like he can win MVPs,
Yeah,
and
he's
so I
amazing.
mean that helps a lot. Dalen Lyle and Brady House are rookies that are getting their first 30 and 50 plate appearances of their major league career. I think Ruiz is definitely definitely a liability at this point, which is disappointing, especially because it looked like maybe he was getting off to a decent start. I don't know if I would. Like, I do think that we got ahead of ourselves in like people were talking about the Nationals as a team that could be like the fun, surprising team this year, and I think that's clearly not going to be the case. But they have some pitching reinforcements on the way. Travis Sakura is one of the more exciting young pitching prospects in the game. Harleen Susana is as well. Of course, they got to get up and do it. They have the number one pick still, in this draft, and they're going to be able to potentially get another arm if they want, or whoever the hell they want. I still think Mackenzie Gore's taken a big step forward this year. Irvin again following up to prove that I think he's decent and can be a rotation piece. I think they're in a fine spot, and the reports are that they're going to spend. I don't. I think it was a little harsh from Bailey from Foolish Baseball. I do think it's a little harsh. Like, how quick was this supposed to happen?
I mean, they've kind of been rebuilding since 2019. And they're still one of the worst teams in baseball. And, that package really brought them over some great pieces. But James Wood is having an MVP season. CJ Abrams is having an incredible season. Mackenzie Gore is second in strikeouts. And they're one of the worst teams in baseball
Yeah,
because
it's
they don't
fair. I
have
mean,
anything else.
it has been a
So
while.
I
It's.
think
I mean,
what he was saying was we keep trying, the greater baseball media has been trying to kind of push the Nationals up when they don't deserve it. Like, are there things to look at where it's like maybe it could get better? Sure, but at the end of the day, they are maybes.
yeah, that's fair. That is fair. I
So,
mean, you're looking at 55 and so you 2021. I throw 2020 out, right?
yeah,
65 and 97, 55 and 107. So you figure, okay, that's rock bottom. You
yeah,
trade Soto. Now here's the up and up.
yeah.
71 and 91. Okay, we're getting closer. 71 and 91 again. All right, well, maybe they make the leap forward this year. So I think that's part of it. But now they're on track to potentially be worse than 71 and 91 again. So to that point, that does make sense. I do get that. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on them this offseason to make some moves and also through the rest of this season to get some guys on track to be able to contribute next year and identify who can and can't. And I know they extended Ruiz, but how much runway does he get to be an everyday catcher and be this bad? Like he's a full fledged liability.
He's a
And
negative 0.7 F war guy.
yeah, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And like once once you get Dylan Cruz back, like Jacob Young should probably be a fourth outfielder. Like
Yeah.
there's some things they definitely need to iron out. I mean, your DH has a 72 WRC plus, but those are positions that are easier to address. But to your point, they haven't addressed them outside of trading the most valuable, player that maybe has been moved in a very, 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 very long time, if not ever. So like, it's yes, they nailed that, but at the same time, it's not too hard to nail those kinds of moves because you're literally just saying, "Give me your best,"
Yeah.
and
And Juan
that's what
Soto's
they got.
generational, and they got a generational package, and it
Yep.
worked. And that's all
Yep.
that's worked.
So I can hear that. I can hear that. I,
Yeah.
I, I do. I do think that that is somewhat valid. It's a little harsh, but I don't think it's unfair. I
I agree. I
guess.
don't think it's unfair either.
Mariners Cubs. It was a lot of offense in this one.
Thick. The wind was blowing out at Wrigley, and you got a Seattle team that only hits homers, and you got a Cubs offense that's one of the best in baseball. I love this series.
And you have Emerson Hancock pitching in one of the games. So,
Yeah.
game one, George Kirby versus Matt Boyd. This was probably the most pitching driven game of the series here. Like Cal Raleigh homered in the first inning because of course he did. Then Ian Happ launched a solo homer of his own in the home half to even things at one. A Michael Busch single pushed across two more runs, and the score would hold at 3-1 until the fourth inning when Donovan Solano drove an RBI single the other way to make it 3-2. Reese McGuire tugged one out to right field to make it 4-2 in the fifth, but Mitch Garver gave us a new ball game with a game tying 2-run shot in the sixth. Take a wild guess at who homered in the seventh. Cal Raleigh drilled his 29th of the year, a 2-run homer that made it 6-4. Then Mitch Garver provided insurance with his second of the game, a 3-run shot that sealed things at 9-4. Matt Boyd, good again. Peter, tip of the cap to you. I was like, Matt Boyd, like, sure, whatever this year. He's been huge for them. 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 6 Ks. George Kirby allowed 4 earned over 5 innings pitched. Game two, Emerson Hancock versus Cade Horton. 2 homers in the first via Ian Happ and Kyle Tucker put the Cubs ahead 2-zip in the first inning. Then Luke Raley got one back with an RBI single. The Cubs added 4 runs in the second, headlined by an Ian Happ 3-run shot. Michael Busch really tipped the scales with a 3-run shot of his own to make it 9-1 in the third. But the Mariners didn't quite go away easily. They clawed back to make it 6-9, but then Pete Crow Armstrong's 21st homer of the year extended the lead back to 4, with the final score ultimately being 10-7. Hancock wore 9 earned through 4 innings. Horton allowed 3 runs through 4 2/3. On to the finale. Logan Gilbert versus Colin Ray. Again, take a wild guess. Who led the scoring off? Cal Raleigh hit another one. What was that, his 31st? In the first inning, making it 2-0, 2-run shot. Seiya Suzuki's 19th homer cut the lead in half in the second, but Dominic Canzone got it right back with a homer of his own in the home half. Donovan Solano homered in the fourth to make it 4-1, followed by another run by the Mariners in the fifth. Reese McGuire stroked one to dead center in the fifth. Then Seiya Suzuki's second homer of the game, a 2-run shot, brought the Cubs within one. But Dominic Canzone said, "It's my turn." So many multi-homer games, by the way, in the series. He launched his second homer of the game, and Julio Rodriguez drove in another run on a ground out to make it 7-4 in the sixth. The multi-homer bug spread to Donovan Solano, whose 2-run shot made it 9-4 in the seventh, while Kyle Tucker hit a 2-run shot of his own in the home half. The Mariners blew the doors off in the eighth with a final score of 14-6. Logan Gilbert, 5 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned, no walks, 6 Ks. Colin Ray, 5 1/3, 11 hits, 7 earned runs. Interesting series. A lot of offense, a lot of multi-homer games. Like you said, the wind was blowing out in Wrigley, so it's just a laser show, and it's so much fun to watch.
Exactly. And I think that's the takeaway. This was a series that was just a blast to watch. You got two teams who hit a bunch of home runs, and you put them in the hot summer of Chicago in Wrigley with 25-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. How do we really have true takeaways from this game? From this entire series, because guys are just hitting home runs out at will. And it's funny, Cal Raleigh in that last game, in Sunday's game, went 2 for 5 with a home run and a single, which means he has a 1 hit lead in terms of singles compared to home runs. What I mean by that is 32 singles. 31 home runs for Cal Raleigh. He is just unbelievable. Whenever Cal Raleigh hits a home run, I go to social media because I'm like, what's the next historical stat that people are going to put out? And I'm not saying that as if I'm sick of them. I love him because he truly is. I mean, he has the most home runs by a catcher before the All Star break, like a week ago. And the All Star
Yeah.
break is in for another month. He's doing things that we haven't seen from the catching position. So I could just continue to hear all the praise because he deserves it. But in
Yeah.
terms of takeaways from the series, like if I'm the Cubs, I mean, what can you do? The wind was blowing out. A couple of your pitchers gave up some homers. Cal Raleigh came in and just hit a home run every
Yeah.
single day. That's one you just throw away and be like, that was the wind. What can you do? If you're the Mariners, you got to be really, really happy, right? The offense really came to play. It's not like you got great pitching performances, but at the same time, it's against the Cubs in the wind, and they hit a bunch of home runs and they won the series. I think both. The Mariners should go home happy. Use this as some momentum. I think the Cubs just throw it over their shoulder. Whatever. We lost the series in the wind.
Well, I would say it's you got to be really encouraged to build on that if you're the Mariners because you go into that series, okay, wind blowing out, offensive driven environment in at Wrigley, and you got to keep up with one of the more potent offenses in Major League Baseball.
Definitely.
You're thinking you're playing from behind most of the time, even because that's going to nullify your weakness and bolster their strength. And they banged with them. You know, like they were able to match and then exceed that offense. And of course, having the best power hitter on the planet right now, like he with Aaron Judge being human for a couple weeks, like Cal Raleigh has been the hottest hitter I think that's wielding a baseball bat in the whole world right now. I don't know what's going on in the MPB currently, but I don't know if anyone's swinging it better than him right now. But on top of that, they got a lot of good ABs from a lot of guys. Donovan Solano's showing signs of life all of a sudden. That guy's always hit. So I was kind of shocked to see how bad he was to start the year. He's starting to come to life a little bit. Little things like that, I think, are starting to send this offense up a bit. Canzone being able to fill a role for them too and see if he can continue to do that. But I think you got to be really encouraged with the Mariners offense because if you can win series like that, you know that ultimately your pitching is going to win you plenty of series moving forward.
Absolutely.
A couple teams that may not be the case for is the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, more so the Rockies. But this series, like I don't even really know what to make of it. You can tell me after I recap them. Game one, I don't even want to take you through the innings, to be honest. Like in the recap, I was like, I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to tell you the best performers because if I did this, it would take forever and you would get nothing out of it. It was a 14-8 victory for the Diamondbacks. It was Zach Gallen versus Austin Gomber. Ketel Marte went 3 for 6 with a home run, 2 doubles, 5 RBI. Eugenio Suarez went 4 for 6 with 2 home runs and 3 RBI. Ildemaro Vargas went 3 for 5 with a homer, a double, and 3 RBI. And Mickey Moniak and Ryan McMahon also homered. Zach Gallen gave up 7 earned runs and got the win. I think that's the most earned runs he's ever given up while getting a win. And I went to see like what the modern era record was. I think it was the year 2000. The name was a crazy name. I got to pull it back up. I was like that I had not thought of in a while, but I don't know why I didn't write it down. But yeah, I mean, it was just a classic Diamondback Rockies game, is what it is. Game two was a lot more of a baseball game. And Eugenio Suarez sac fly in the top of the first, or I should say, Merrill Kelly versus Carson Palmquist. Eugenio Suarez sac fly in the top of the first, and a Jordan Beck 2-run shot in the home half of the first made it 2-1 through one, favoring the Rockies. Ketel Marte tied things up with an RBI single or an RBI double, and then Suarez hit another homer to take the lead. Jordan Beck tied things at 3 with a ground out in the third. Then Geraldo Perdomo has the decisive 2-run homer in the fifth, as the score would hold at 5-3 from that point on. Merrill Kelly not affected at all at altitude. 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned, 3 walks, 7 Ks. You go to the final game here of the series, Brandon Pfaadt versus Antonio Senzatella. Randall Grichuk got the Diamondbacks going with a sac fly in the second inning and an RBI single in the fourth inning. That gave him a 2-0 lead. But a big fifth inning was all the Rockies needed. Braxton Fulford's RBI single preceded a 3-run Mickey Moniak home run to make it 4-2, where the score would hold. How about Senzatella, man? 5 and a third, 4 hits, 2 earned, 1 walk, 5 Ks. Brandon Pfaadt, 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned, 1 walk, 7 Ks. The Rockies are able to salvage there. My big takeaway is Eugenio Suarez reached 300 home runs. in his career, which is awesome. And I was thinking about it because Suarez, yes, he's sneaky 34 years old. He's going to be very soon. But he's also on pace to hit 50 home runs this year. And he's going to be a free agent. And I was thinking about it. Okay, he's got 301 home runs now because he hit another one. This guy, like, it's like a 2% chance, but there's a non-zero chance that this guy could hit 500 home runs. So that's why I was saying, like, if I'm Eugenio Suarez, I don't think the D-backs are going to bring him back after this year. I'm signing a 7-year deal with the Rockies, like Chris Bryant did, but obviously for less money. And I am selling the hell out for 500 home runs. Because then he's either going to be the first non-steroid using player to hit 500 home runs and not make the Hall of Fame, or this dude just finessed his way into Cooperstown. It's very unlikely. He could go back to Cincinnati and do it too. I don't care where he does it. Colorado's just funnier. But people might say, "Oh, he's slowing down. What are the age curve? What are the chances he gets there?" That's going to slow the age curve. And clearly, he's not slowing down yet. He's on pace for a career high in homers, or at least the most he's had since he was 27 in 2019 when he hit 49 in Great American Ballpark. I I want the chaos because obviously he's not a Hall of Fame player. So very good and a really solid ball player. But I want to just see the chaos that creates if he does get to 500.
I am a Hall of Fame purist in that way. If you get to 500 home runs, you're in the Hall of Fame in my book. Just point blank
Somebody's
period.
going to change that. I agree with you, but somebody's going to change that, and maybe it's Gino.
Maybe it's Gino.
If
And
you get to 500 homers, but you're sub 40 B WAR,
I'm still putting you in. 500 home runs is 500 home runs.
That's why I said it. So I want it. I want to see it. I want to see it. Adam Dunn was really close to making that a problem, but he didn't quite get there. I would love to see it. But then you could also make the case, like you look at a Carlos Delgado who's just shy, was like 30 home runs shy and was just such a better hitter and had like 44 B WAR.
Doesn't matter. Not 500.
Yeah, he had
I know it's
473 homers and then like a hit issue cut his career short at 37 when he had a 914 OPS still.
Yeah.
But it's not 500. It's just this number that we decided. Just it makes it binary, yes or no. Like I think that part's so funny. So I want him to like test that. Gino, please go to Colorado and just sell out. I don't care if you hit 210.
My last takeaway on this series, because there's nothing really to take away from the Rockies series after series, and it's going to be short because it confuses me and I don't actually have any good analysis about it. I just can't believe that Zach Gallen has the worst ERA among all qualified pitchers.
Yeah.
5.60. You go to his Savant page and he's not doing anything. Anything. Right? He's still getting whiffs at an average rate, keep the ball on the ground at an average rate. That's about it. Everything else is below average. And you look at his 3 most used offerings, opponents are hitting under 250 against all of them. And it's not like the velocity is really down. It's not like the spin rate is so far down. Now, the quality of the stuff, right? His stuff plus has taken a little bit of a dip, but not really. It's not quite the same command, but it's not completely out of whack either. He's just getting pelted.
It's so weird. The command just isn't totally where it was. I guess just missing middle more. Maybe it's just not. You never expected him to be that bad because it just seemed like the floor would always be so high because of the pitchability. But he's just walking. He's almost walked as many batters this year as he did in the entirety of last year. And how about in 2023 when he was an All-Star? He walked 47 batters in 210 innings. He already has 41 walks this year.
Yeah.
I don't know where the command went.
I get it's, but then like, how does he fix it? So it's going to be something that we're just going to have to track for a while. But it's, every single time I watch him, I'm just waiting for it to get back to Gallen, and it's just not.
And the contract year too, like he's going to be trying everything, but it's just not working for him right now, and they need him. There's no doubt. Final series, Guardians Athletics. Game 1 was a fun pitching matchup, and both guys threw well. Bybee with one of the more unique lines I've seen in a while. We'll get to that in a second. Nick Kurtz stayed hot with a 2-run homer in the first, his 10th of the year. Lawrence Butler tacked on another in the second with an RBI single to make it 3-0. Jacob Wilson added an RBI single in the 7th with the lone Guardians run coming on an Angel Martinez solo homer in the eighth. Final score was 5-1. Jeffrey Springs was awesome. Seven and a third, 3 hits, one earned, one walk, 6 Ks. Tanner Bybee, unique line. 8 innings, 11 hits, 4 earned, no walks, 10 Ks. I, I like, we talk about scoregamis. That might be like I don't even know what you would call it, but that's a pitching stat line agami type of thing there, where I don't know if we've had one of those before, or at least in a very long time. That's the kind of line you'd see from like an old Hoss Radborn, I feel like. You got to throw 150 pitches generally to get to a line like that. That's all I got. I'll go to game two. Um, Luis Ortiz versus Mitch Spence. Uh, Guardians got all of their runs they needed in the second inning. Josh Naylor doubled to score one. Jonathan Rodriguez doubled to score Naylor. Kwan singled to score Rodriguez. And Ramirez singled to score Kwan. 4-0 through 2 innings. The Athletics scored one in the seventh and the eighth, but it wasn't enough because Luis Ortiz, 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 10 Ks
Mm.
for Ortiz. That's got to be his best outing of the year. He was absolutely fantastic. That's all. Not major takeaways. And then even the final game, the series is just a super quick recap here. It's just the way this is guard ball. This is guard ball, baby. They make the weekend roundup quick. You had Slade Ciccone on one side, you had JP Sears on the other side, and the only team that scored was the Guardians. Gabriel Arias, RBI single in the second. Nolan Jones, RBI double to score Arias to make it 2-0. And then David Fry added an RBI single in the fifth. That was it. That was all the scoring. 3-zip because Slade Ciccone went 7 innings, 6 hits, no runs, one walk, 3 Ks. The Guardians are really starting to guardian again with all of these pitchers that maybe were viewed as back into the rotation guys where they were at previously, starting to throw better than that. And Ciccone was a good example of that. Sears turned in a nice outing, though. 5 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned, 2 walks, 5 Ks. The A's get that. Most of the time, their offense is going to win them ball games, but ultimately, not the case here. Guardians take 2 out of 3, and really the pitching is what helped them do that in games 2 and 3.
So my one takeaway from this series, and I know he didn't have like an incredible series, right? I think he went 2 for what is that, 12? But it's a much larger takeaway just from his start. Nick Kurtz is such a fun bat to watch. If he can spell this strikeout rate, and it's totally understandable because he was drafted in 2024 and he's already up helping the no city designation athletics. I mean, you watch him hit and it's like, yeah, he's got it. I remember watching him in college too. Such a good eye at the plate. And when he puts the bat on the ball, he's setting it. He's already put up a 113 max. And he's just going to continually hit the ball hard. And he's not a guy who I think is going to strike out at this high of a rate, obviously not at 32%, but I think he'll probably settle into 25%. He's probably going to walk 10% at 30 home runs and even put up a decently high batting average, probably in 270. I think he's just going to be one of the best offensive pieces at the first base position for a long time. When I watch him among young hitters, I feel like he has as high of a floor as like any of them.
He mitigates the whiff really well because of how hard he hits the ball and how consistently he hits it in the air. And you're seeing, like, even as he's striking out a bit, as he came back off the IL, he had a stretch of, I think, what was it? Five, five, 5 of his 6 games he went deep. And then I think the last 2 of the series he didn't. But, just to be that potent offensively coming off of the IL and entering the Sunday game, he had a 942 OPS, 11 hits, 5 were homers, and 3 were doubles. Like, he's going to be a damage inducer consistently. So he can mitigate that swing and miss. And then he's a guy that's going to defend a lot better than he has. I think some of the injuries have limited him some. He's a phenomenal athlete for his size. And I think as he settles in more, he's going to turn into a well above average defender at first base too. So as that part of his game continues to grow and he settles in there, he's just going to be I agree, one of the better first baseman. It's not totally the same game, but you can see a lot of qualities that are reminiscent of a Matt Olson. And
Yeah.
I think that's got to be exciting for athletics fans.
And I think he will end up being a better hitter than Matt Olson. all around hitter. Matt Olson, I think, is going to be a better power hitter, but Kurtz is going to be able to replicate some of those EVs. And if he's putting the ball in the air, like he could have a Matt Olson-esque season where he's hitting 50 home runs just because of how hard he hits the baseball. But I think that he is going to be, Matt Olson does do a really good job of walking, but he's normally going to hit around 240. Like I think Kurtz is going to consistently put up a higher batting average and a higher WRC plus. Maybe not that top end power, like I said, but he'll be close. Like I think that's a great comp, but I think Kurtz could end up being a better overall hitter.
Then like what version of Olsen? So it's 2023 Olsen.
True.
Good luck.
True. It's like, Matt Olson has been up and down. Like, will Nick Kurtz ever have the here's my thinking here. I think Nick Kurtz is going to be more consistent than Matt Olson.
That I could, yeah, that I could get
Yeah,
behind.
that's where I'm kind of at. Like, will he ever get that top end that Olson got? I'm not so sure. I mean, I'm not going to put it past him, but I'm not about to stamp that right now. But I do think that he will be more consistent long term, which is huge for the A's.
Oh man,
Huge.
absolutely, absolutely. Especially while they're playing in Sacramento, he's the perfect player to benefit from that.
And he's one of the perfect players to bring over to Las Vegas.
Yeah,
So
that's all I got.
before we get to my series, our first break. Okay, let's start with the Orioles versus the Yankees. Game one, Orioles win 5-3. Both teams put up 2 runs in the first before Aaron Judge homered his 27th to give the Yankees a 3-2 lead after 3 innings. But then Kobe Mayo tied it up for Baltimore in the sixth on an RBI single. And then Ramon Arias left the yard in the eighth, and Gunner's RBI single in the same inning was the dagger. Luke Weaver took the loss as he allowed those 2 runs late from the Orioles after a Max Fried quality start with 7 punchouts. Move to game two. Yankees win 9-0. The Yankees offense came to play, but this was the Clark Schmidt show as he tossed 7 no-hit innings before getting taken out at 103 pitches. I wanted him to go a little bit longer, but I understand what Boone was doing there. He hasn't allowed a run in 3 straight starts on him. 20 and 2/3. Scoreless baseball, lowering his ERA to 2.84. And another great stat, since 2024 with a minimum of 150 innings. Tarek Skubal, number 1 in ERA. Clark Schmidt, number 2. The Yankees had a home run party on the other side as Grisham started the game with a dinger, and then J.C. Escara, Ben Rice, and Anthony Volpe followed suit. Moved to game three. Yankees win 4-2. Orioles got out to a 2-1 lead after 2 innings and held it until the eighth, but then Jazz Chisholm showed up. Ripped a 2-run double with a green light on 3-0, and then raced home on a DJ LeMahieu grounder. The Gary Sanchez just dropped, allowing him to score the 4th run. Will Warren was awesome. 6 1/3, 2 earned, 6 punchies. His ERA is 4.66. Kramer was also pretty solid. 5 2/3, 5 hits, 1 earned, 7 strikeouts. His ERA is at 4.60. The Orioles have been playing good baseball. This was a tough series. So as a Yankee fan, I'm of course happy to get the series win, but the Orioles are at least showing some fight, which is, this fan base needs it. Like Charlie Morton, I know he didn't pitch in this series, but they've been better, and it's good to see.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's funny though. The only game that the Yankees drop in this one is Tomoyoki Shigano against Max Fried. Just happens.
And, it is what it is.
But no, the Orioles are definitely playing a better brand of baseball of late. That's definitely a takeaway. I mean, getting some of the guys back in the lineup that they have, and just even being able to have a Cowser available, and I'm excited to just see him fully get going again. And I think it was really underestimated how much of an impact a Colton Cowser can make. And I know he didn't have a huge series or anything, but I mean, this is a player that was huge for them that through this really tough start to the season was not in the lineup. So I think that part of it is definitely huge for them. And then, yeah, just getting some of these guys to start throwing a little bit better is a big part of it. The Clark Schmidt stat is nuts, but at the same time, like we've been talking about it, it is nuts how consistently solid he has been since the start of the 2024 season. And it's wild because if you look at those, he hasn't stayed healthy, and that's been the challenge going all the way back since he was a prospect. But you compare the numbers from 2024 to 2025, they're almost exactly the same. It's a 2.85 ERA in 2024. It's a 2.84 ERA so far in 2025. 16 starts then, 12 starts now. It's starting to become a pretty significant sample size where you can just say this guy just gets outs. And he looks like a solid arm that the Yankees can rely on when healthy, and that's the big part of being able to rely on guys. Unfortunately, as a pitcher, you need to stay healthy, but I think just the fact that you know that you have something there is definitely encouraging.
And this is a Yankees rotation that's really trending up here. I mean, we know how good Rodon and Fried have been, but with Schmidt pitching the way he is, with Warren looking better and better and flashing some really, really solid stuff. And Cashman even came out and said that, adding Luis Heel here in a few weeks is almost like a deadline move. So you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
those five guys. I mean, we have to remember the Yankees lost Garrett Cole at the beginning of the season, and there were some question marks in the rotation, right? You bring in Max Fried, but what's Rodon going to do? Is Will Warren actually going to grab a spot here? Is Clark Schmidt going to be able to stay healthy? I mean, there were times not so long ago where like Carrasco was getting outings like consistently, and I hated it. But this current rotation, I mean, every single time I turn on the Yankee game, I got a pitcher who I believe in. And I
hmm
think that's huge for the Yankees with how good their offense has been. And this is a really good team. And again, the reason I'm bringing up the Orioles is it hasn't just been the lowly Orioles that the Yankees just took 2 of 3 from. That was a hot team coming in looking for a win. They grabbed game one, and the Yankees are able to find 2 more wins in the series and take it. And I think it's a testament to the starting staff.
Yep. Yep.
I,
I agree. And I think that's something that if you have that going for you, you know that the team's going to be able to swing it because I think it's a lot easier, especially in this deadline, to potentially address the offense here and there. But I hope they don't address the offense because they saw DJ LeMahieu have 2 hits and a double on Friday and say we're good.
we
So
are
that's
good.
what I think.
We are good. That's how Cashman's going to say. What do you mean? We have DJ LeMahieu. What do you mean we need a third baseman? All
Yep.
right, let's move on to series number 2, Tigers versus Rays. Rays went 14-8. I mean, this got ugly quick. Rays took a 4-0 lead in the first and held an 8-3 lead after 3 innings, highlighted by a Yandy Diaz home run for Tampa. But all three Detroit runs came from a Riley Green 3-run shot. Yandy Diaz and Riley Green both homered later as well, as did Colt Keith. But the 14 runs from Tampa was a team effort. Every starter had a hit, and both Yandy and Matt Thaiss both had 3 hits, and he had 4 RBIs. Now, Shane Baz did not have a good start, but Flaherty was the big loser here as he allowed 8 earned and only went 2 1/3. He's been really on a downward trend lately. We'll talk about that in a second. Move to game 2. Rays went 8-3. Rays did the same thing they did in game 1. Put up 4 runs in the first, and that was all they needed. And then once they got their lead, the home runs just started falling as Danny Jansen, Junior Calmanero, and Christopher Morel all went yard. And Ryan Pepio was solid again. 5 innings, 1 earned, 7 punchies. His ERA is down to 3.04. Move to game 3. Tigers were able to salvage the series, win 9-3. Traded runs in the second and fourth, highlighted by another Junior Caminero home run. God, that was a take.
Oh yeah.
I tried to be cool with Jack, say something fun, maybe get a good bet going. Junior Caminero versus Will Wagner. Will Wagner is in the minor leagues, and Junior Caminero was freaking awesome. 19th of the season. But then the Tigers just piled on. Wenzel Perez hit a 2-run shot in the seventh, and then the Tigers put up 6 runs in the ninth against New Ray, who I was told they're going to fix. Forrest Whitley didn't record an out. Highlighted by a Parker Meadows 2-run shot, Littell and Mize were both solid, tossing 5 innings of 1 run ball. I don't mean to get on Forrest Whitley. It is funny, and sometimes I fall into this bucket a little bit. Oh, he's going to the Rays? He's automatically going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
a
you
great
see some
start.
of like the stuff plus like cards, right? And it's just like, whoa, look at the stuff plus. The Rays are gonna make him nasty because he pitched one scoreless inning, and it's like, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. My big takeaway is Junior Caminero.
How can you not?
11 homers in his last 27 games. This cat isn't even 22 yet.
Nope.
He's starting to really settle in here. The bat speed is just stupidly elite. And the big thing with Caminero, since he was a prospect, was can he mitigate the ground ball rate? And I I think that's been what he's finally settling in and able to do. So hopefully he can extrapolate this. But if you look at the last 46 games, or the first 46 games of the season, he had a ground ball rate of 53%. Since then, he has a ground ball rate of 38%, and in that span has hit 11 home runs. So I don't think it's a coincidence that in 27 games 27 games, 11 home runs, he's cut the ground ball rate by about 13 to 15%. And on top of that, he's got the strikeout rate too. He has only punched out 16 times in that span as well. So ball's getting hit in the air more. He's not whiffing as much. And you're seeing, I think, him really start to settle into the star that he can be. And if the Rays are going to make a push here, it's going to be because Junior Caminero is taking that step up to all-star ability, and I think we're seeing that right now.
And one quick thing on the Tigers, throw it over your shoulder. I know you've been having some tough series lately. You don't look like the same Tigers that you were, for most of the season and really just in the last couple of weeks. I mean, Flaherty has definitely taken a downturn. That's not good to see. The offense has been inconsistent. You haven't gotten as great of performances from your starters, but you're still a fantastic team. You're still 19 games over 500. It's just you're going through a lull, right? All
Yep.
the best teams do it. You can't stay hot all year. You weren't going to win 120 games like you were on pace for. You're probably still going to win 95. You're still going to be a great team, but right now you're just going through a lull. Happens. Middle of the summer. Can't stay hot forever.
Yeah, and the thing is too, is this team they have one of the best farm systems in Major League
Yeah,
Baseball.
they'll
They're
be
going to be able to
fine.
go get whoever they want. It's Riley Green still really
Dog.
starting to torch baseballs here with the 2 homers, and um, I think Kerry Carpenter, like you're going to see him start to really heat up. That's probably been a big part of this too, though. Like Kerry Carpenter's got to be better than a 735 OPS. You mentioned the pitching side, but the pitching's ultimately going to be solid. I don't think there's much to be worried about, and you know that there's reinforcements on the way if they need it because they can go get whoever they want. This team is still one of the best in the American League, and I would take a lot more than this for me to be worried about them.
100%. Let's move to series number 3, Rangers versus Pirates. Game 1, Rangers win 6-2. Rangers got out to a 2-0 lead after the first inning, and that first run was maybe the worst play of the season, Arm, as O'Neill Cruz let that ball just go under his glove in center and just stood there and watched.
That's where he frustrates the hell out of me, man.
Oh my god! I mean, I how many times have I been hyping him up when we do the weekend roundup together? I'm like, oh, I'm freaking out. I love O'Neill Cruz. He hits at 150 miles an hour, and he's running so fast. And the arm from center field, it looks like he's shooting out of a cannon. And then he does that, and
And then
it's
he just
just
doesn't
like,
hustle.
dude. I mean, that's unacceptable. That is
No.
unacceptable. And then Adolis Garcia had a solo shot in the third, and that was enough to win this game. Pirates battled back, but Corey Seager went yard in the fifth, and Adolis Garcia went yard again, but the ump overturned the call in the field, and he settled for an RBI double, so not a home run. And Jacob deGrom was just Jacob deGrom. 6 innings, 2 earned, 7 Ks. His ERA is at 2.24. Game two, excuse me. Rangers win 3-2. While this was a close game, the Rangers were never really in doubt here. They took the lead in the third, had it tied for a half inning, and then put up 2 in the sixth to seal the win. That was kind of it. Kumar Rocker looked pretty good. 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned, 4 strikeouts. And Mitch Keller dropped to 1-10, even though he wasn't bad. Again, five
One.
and two thirds, 3 hits, 3 earned. His ERA is at 4.02. 4.02 ERA is an ideal, but you do not deserve to be 1-10. Game 3, Pirates win 8-3. They salvaged it. Rangers got out to a 2-0 lead after 2 innings before the Pirates tied it back up in the fourth, and then Nick Gonzalez gave the Pirates the lead on an RBI single, and then Horowitz, Hayes, and Pham followed suit with RBI hits of their own, and the game was over. Neither Falter nor Leiter were very good in this one. Rangers win the series, and I also tweeted out that Andrew Heaney, Mitch Keller, and Paul Skeens have combined to throw over 250 innings, Arm, about 278, pitching to a 3.20 ERA between the three of them. They're 8-22.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's
That's
a
it,
tough stat.
it's a tough stat. But
That's
it's also
that.
like
Wait, hold on. I actually don't think it's as tough as the one you dropped at the beginning about Michael Harris not walking since May 18th. I think that's worse.
but like I don't know if anyone would have thought it would have been this bad, but going into the year, you looked at the roster and said they're going to pitch and they're not going to hit, and their bullpen may not help them much. And it's exactly how you get to a point where you can have an ERA there and a record of that. It's just crazy. They have been playing better baseball of late, but you're still just going to have those frustrating series. I do want to give credit though to the Rangers who
Yeah.
overall just continue to throw the ball well and score just enough runs. And I know they're not tearing it up. They're still 2 games under 500, but they're also only 2 games out of the wild card in the American League. So uh, I still believe in this team. Excuse me, and I think the Kumar Rocker side of things is really important. They don't need him to be an ace. If Kumar Rocker is giving you 5 innings of 2-run ball, most of his starts, you're going to be in a really good spot. He gave him 5 shutty the first time back off the IL, and he just gave him 5 1/3 of 2-run ball. If Rocker can sustain that, that really helps their outlook overall. And I think you got to be really encouraged to have him back healthy and throwing the way that he's throwing.
Also, if you're a Rangers fan, you got to be pretty happy that they're winning away from Arlington. In at Globe Life Field, they're 23-16 this year. On the road, they're 15-24, and that is with 2 wins in this series. They could not win when they went on the road. That's more of just like a small sample weird thing. I don't think automatically the Rangers are just bad on the road, but if I am a Rangers fan, I'm like, thank God we won a series on the road. They never
Yep.
do that. So again, just start to put together those series, come back up to 500 on the road, and then you'll keep winning at home, and you'll be competing for a playoff spot again.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to series number 4, White Sox versus Blue Jays. This was the Grant Taylor series, arm. This is the Grant Taylor series. Game 1, White Sox win 7-1. White Sox started hot. Benintendi homered to start off the game, and then Grant Taylor came in throwing 101. But it was only 1 inning of work, and he was the opener. But the White Sox offense had his back, kept piling on, highlighted by a Luis Robert home run that went 441 feet. Spencer Turnbull has not had a lot of fun in a Jays uniform so far. 2 innings, 4 earned in this game. His ERA is at 7.11 over just 6 1/3 inning. It's obviously early, but I'm just saying he hasn't had much fun yet. Game 2. This time, Blue Jays win 7-1. Bichette got Toronto on the board first with a dinger, and then a 3-run second inning put the White Sox to bed. Vladdy homered late, and that was that. Aaron Savali wasn't quite Tanner Bybee, but he did his best Chad innings eater impression, going 7 innings, 9 hits, 5 earned with only 2 strikeouts. But Barrios on the other side was just fantastic. 7 2/3, only 2 hits allowed, 1 run, but it wasn't earned with 5 strikeouts. Move over to game 3. White Sox win the series and win this game 4-2. Both teams traded runs before a Bo Bichette RBI single broke the tie in the 7th. White Sox clawed back in the 8th, highlighted by a 2-run double from Miguel Vargas that ended up being the difference. And how about Adrian Hauser? Good again? 6 1/3, 2 earned, 4 punchies. ERA is at 2.27. And Chris Bassett was excellent. It's just the Blue Jays didn't score. 6 innings, 1 run, 7 Ks, only 3 hits allowed. His ERA is at 3.61. Oh, I wanted them to stretch out Grant Taylor to be a starter. I mean, the stuff is outrageous with him.
I know. I mean, that's what it was. I was kind of surprised that they made that move to this early to kind of kill the starting pitcher dream. When I saw him in the Arizona Fall League, there's definitely fair amount of effort in his delivery. That was like one of the main takeaways I had. But also, you saw a pitch mix that could play. Like he's got a deep bag, and the fastball's elite. It's not just the velocity; it's the characteristics. But I can also understand with some of the injury history and the effort in the delivery that they want to go this route. But if he was still a starting pitching prospect, probably still working in the minor leagues. Now you've got a guy that's up there and lights out for you. They could still go the Crochet route, right? Where it's like, okay, he's doing the final stages of his development at the big league level, dominating out of the bullpen, and then maybe they transition him back into a rotation role if they need that. But I think no matter what, you look at this situation and you say, okay, well, the White Sox, who were one of the worst teams in Major League history last year, have another guy. Now it's like one piece at a time, right? You see Mydroth. Okay, that's clearly a building block. You can see Grant Taylor. It's like whatever the role is, that's clearly a guy that's going to be a part of what may be the successful Chicago White Sox team in the next few years. So that part alone, I think you have to be encouraged by.
Absolutely. And I didn't really have any takeaways on the Blue Jays. They didn't play all that well. They got some good starting pitching performances outside of Spencer Turnbull. Bo Bichette had a pretty nice series. Vladdy hit a home run, but he just lost to the White Sox. That stinks. But it's another one of those where my opinion on the Blue Jays has not changed. Just throw it over your shoulder.
Yeah, and I mean, I looked at you look at the game on Saturday where it was top to bottom. That whole lineup was
Yeah.
swinging it. I mean, you had I think 1 through 9, everybody had a hit except for Andres Jimenez, and you had 4 guys with multi-hit performances, and Barrios gave you 7 2/3. Like those are the games that I think you've seen a lot more of this year, and that's why the Blue Jays have actually been better than I will say I expected. But yeah, I mean, overall doesn't change much, and I think it's more of a testament to the fact that the White Sox are like not terrible anymore. They're not good, but they're not terrible because they've got some pieces, some young pieces here, and you're starting to see it come together a little bit.
Bet MGM, we're coming for you. 53.5 wins. I can see
53 and a
I can
half.
see 54 on the horizon. I could just see it. Let's go White Sox Nation. All right, let's move over to Reds versus Cardinals. Game one, Cardinals win 6-1. This was a pitcher's duel until it wasn't. Brady Singer wins 6 innings of one-run ball with 7 strikeouts, while Andre Palante did him one better, throwing 6 shutout innings while only allowing 2 hits. But it just got ugly in the seventh. Cardinals broke it open with 5 runs, 3 of those, though, on a bases loaded walk and a throwing error by Gavin Lux. Move to game two. Cardinals win 6-5 in 11 innings. I think the Reds just gave the Cardinals this win on a silver platter. Alec Burleson got the scoring started early with his 8th home run of the year, a 2-run shot, but then Gavin Lux brought home the next 2 runs, one in the third and one in the seventh, but both were on groundouts. Then in the seventh, Ellie De La Cruz, after puking on the field earlier in the game, the heat obviously got to him, went yard for the 17th time this season to give Cincy the lead. And then the Reds got one more in the eighth for insurance, but it wasn't enough. Cardinals rallied in the eighth and the ninth to tie it, highlighted by a clutch home run from Nolan Arenado. In the 11th, the Reds' extra inning woes continued as Yoel Pozo singled to right to give the Cardinals the win. The Reds went 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position and blew a 3-run lead. Normally, when you go 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position, you've scored like 1 or 2 runs in the game.
Yeah,
Can we
that's
cue
impressive.
can we cue that up? And don't worry, I had Reds money line in that game. 1 for
I honestly,
15 with runners in scoring position and blowing a 3-run lead.
it has not. There's no way that's happened many times in Major League history. There's no way.
But luckily, they came back and won game three, 4-1. Matt McClain stays red hot,
Yep.
homering to start off the game, but in the second, Pozo tied it back up with an RBI single. Fraley broke the tie in the fifth with an RBI double, and then Friedel and Lux added insurance runs, and the game was over because Andrew Abbott is so untouchable. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned. His ERA is down to an absurd 1.79. Now, Michaelis was solid as well, 5 innings, 2 earned, 6 Ks, but it's hard to win when your team only puts up 1 run.
You alluded to my one of my main takeaways, which is Matt McClain. Just talked about on the mailbag how he's been kind of the surprising sophomore slump for me, and a guy that I thought was going to have a big year. And he's got to do more. Obviously, like even just with this hot stretch, he's still well below average in terms of the offensive output. But this is exciting to see. Talked about it. Pretty serious shoulder injury, long layoff. Take some time to get back to what he was doing and feeling before, and maybe it did take those 70 games to get there. But just absolutely huge for them if McClain's starting to play at a high level. Like he's a game changer because of the defense, the speed, the sneaky power, especially in that ballpark. He's a guy that can really change the dynamic of the lineup that sometimes can look kind of frustrating. So that's a big takeaway for me. And then like Andrew Abbott, I'm sure you have more on him, but like no walks, especially in that outing. But it's amazing how he's able to go out there every fifth day and just outperform the peripherals and get outs and just be a consistently good arm for them.
I don't have more on Andrew Abbott. We've broken him down now so many times on this show, and it's just the same thing every fifth day.
Yeah.
Commanding the baseball wherever he wants. If anybody gets on base, it doesn't matter because he's a wizard with men on base. But the thing is, this year, it's not your typical, oh, it's bases loaded every inning. No, there's not that many base runners. And when there are, they ain't scoring. He's just been so incredible and just such a because the Reds have been wildly inconsistent all season long. Like he's been the one guy that the Reds can continually count on every single time he toes the rubber. Like even Ellie. Ellie has some inconsistency in his game. From the right side of the plate, it's not great. There's definitely some swing and miss. There are still some bad errors in his game. McClain is getting hot right now, but he hasn't for most of the season. You look up and down their lineup, who's been really consistent? Not really anybody, maybe outside of TJ Friedel. Then you look in the bullpen. Injuries, calling guys up. They've been okay, but nobody that you can truly rely on. I mean, their closer going into the year was Alexis Diaz. And their record kind of shows us they're 2 games over 500, but they have a plus 34 run differential. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the same with the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are 6 games over 500, right? So just a really inconsistent team, headlined by the most consistent pitcher in baseball right now, in Andrew
Yeah.
Abbott.
Yeah, and then I just the takeaway for the Cardinals is just they keep stringing together good series, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're never gonna go crazy. It seems like they're not gonna rattle off these like dominating sweeps, but they're gonna take 2 out of 3 more than they're not. And their starters, these guys that then you're not getting frontline stuff, but you're getting quality starts a lot of the time. And even when I start saying, oh, maybe Palante is going to hit a wall, then he gives you that. Alec Burleson is not getting enough love for what he's doing right now. Like entering Sunday, he was hitting 385 over his last 10 games. But honestly, I just think it's more impressive just to see what he was doing overall in the course of the season entering Sunday. 314 with an 824 OPS and 8 home runs already this season, a 130 WRC plus from Burleson. It sucks that Ivan Herrera is hurt now. It's going to be out for a few weeks, but to have him swinging it the way that he is, Herrera, Burleson swinging it the way that he is, you have a bounce back season from Arenado, where even if he's a league average hitter, that's still very solid. Now they brought Z back up. He could be another piece for them. This lineup is deep. Like they've got a lot of different players that can swing, and it's funny. It feels like the guys that you felt like you could count on for league average offense are not quite doing that. Like I want a little bit more from Lars Nootbaar. I wouldn't say you were counting on league average offense from Jordan Walker, but you were definitely hoping to get more than what you're getting. But when you look at Brendan Donovan, Mason Wynn, Alec Burleson, Wilson Contreras, Nolan Arenado, like that is really, really solid. And then Ivan Herrera when healthy. This is a lineup that they can beat you kind of 1 through 9 for the most part when everybody's healthy.
100%. The Cardinals have been such a fun watch this year. I hope they don't sell at the deadline. I kind of want to see what they do. They'll be a very interesting team to watch.
No doubt.
All right, before we get to the remaining 5 series, our last break. Before we get to Red Sox Giants, be sure to rate and review Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, like, comment on YouTube. That's the best way to support this show for free. Now let's start Red Sox versus Giants. Red Sox win 7-5. Giants got out to a 3-0 lead after 2 innings, but this game was back and forth from there. David Hamilton, 2-run shot in the third. And then Rafaela drove home the tying run on a single. Giants retook the lead in the fourth, but it was short-lived as the Red Sox put up 2 more in the fifth, but that also lasted just a half inning as the Giants then tied it up in the bottom half. However, Rafaela homered in the sixth, and then Willie Abreu drove home the dagger in the seventh. Birdsong and Dobbins did not have that much fun on the mound. Also, I apologize. David Hamilton hit a 2-run shot in the third, and then Rafael Devers drove home the run on a single. Not Rafaela. I'm getting used to Red Sox being on the or Rafa. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Game 2. Giants win 3-2. Giants only need 3 runs to win this one, and they got it off early, off home runs from Heliot Ramos. I'm just doing terrible right now. And then Devers' first home run in a Giants uniform. The Red Sox put up a late rally in the ninth, but it wasn't enough. Landon Roop was great. 6 innings, 3 hits, no earned, 7 punchies. His ERA is down to 3.67. And Brian Bayo allowed just 1 earned through 6 innings, lowering his ERA to 3.31. I'll be honest with you, I can't believe he's got a 3.31. Like I looked at that and I was like, when? And I feel like I've watched a decent amount of Brian Bayo starts, but shout out Brian Bayo.
I was honestly looking at that today too because I saw what Quinn Priester's ERA was, and I was going to say, like, oh, they could probably use that in the rotation. I wonder how that stacks up to everybody else. And I saw Bayo's ERA. I did not feel that at all. That's a surprise. I 100% agree, but it's good. I think when you're looking at the way the pre-arb deals are aging a little bit better now with
Yes,
the
they
way
are.
Rafael is playing and now the way that Bayo's playing.
All right, let's move over to game 3. Giants win 9-5. Duran reached after Ramos dropped the ball in left, scoring Roman Anthony, but that lead was short-lived as Ramos grabbed those runs back and then some on a 2-run single. Red Sox grabbed the lead back in the fifth on home runs from Rob Refsnyder and Roby Gonzalez, but then Giants did the same thing, tying it up with home runs from Casey Schmidt and Mike Yastrzemski. Red Sox retake the lead on a Ceddanne Rafaela home run, but a seventh inning based on bad defense gave the Giants the lead, and then Willie Adames homered in the eighth for more breathing room. Giants win this series. Bad fundamentals by the Red Sox. I mean, just the
Yeah.
defense, like it kind of fell apart. Devers didn't have that great of a series, but the Giants still win this series. Back and forth between two teams, but my opinion, team that played better baseball won. I know that sounds really simple, but
Yeah.
that's just what it felt like in this series. It's just they made the plays when they had to, and the Red Sox didn't, and the Giants won the series.
can we give some love to my guy Casey Schmidt,
Damn right
who
we can.
now through 32 games this season is slashing 286, 369, 462. We went 4 for
Okay.
4 in that finale, 137 WRC plus. It was funny. We were talking about filling in for Matt Chapman, and of course you're never going to be no one's going to be able to fill the shoes defensively. But I think one of the first games back there, he made a disgusting play. Casey Schmidt did at third base, and I mean, again, I think the metrics are going to really start to rack up for him now that he's not oscillating as much between shortstop and third base. But even now, like they're going to move him. He's going to play some first, and that's kind of crazy because he's so good defensively. But like he can play a really good first for you as he gets more comfortable there. He's always going to play a good second. But this is a guy that if he's playing third base every day, which is not going to be the case, of course, when you have a healthy Matt Chapman, you can feel really good about the defensive value that you're going to get there. But now he's playing himself into a position where if once you have a healthy Chapman, it's going to be hard to justify taking this Casey Schmidt bat out of the lineup right now. And I look through the team right now, and who does he take at bats from? Maybe do you start to see Tyler Fitzgerald get those at bats cut into a little bit? Do you
I
ride
think
the
that
hot hand?
that's the
And
answer.
yeah, that's a great situation to have there because
Yeah.
Fitzgerald's been frustrating. Still a guy that is going to play good defense, can play multiple spots as well. You have two really versatile infielders here, but the fact that Fitzgerald has been disappointing, and now you have a Casey Schmidt who can plug in and give you more. I think you got to be feeling really good about that as a Giants fan for when Chapman does come back.
I don't really have anything on the Red Sox this series. I thought,
Rafael is all I got.
coming into it, they were playing much better. They just lost to a really good team,
Yeah,
and they kind of gave it up themselves.
I agree. The fundamental side of it was pretty surprising, especially on Sunday. Just a lot of bad
Yeah.
mistakes, and but I think Rafaela is got to be the big takeaway. When he's swinging it like this, you're gonna have a 20 game stretch where if he hits 5 home runs and 24 hits in a 20 game stretch, with the way that he's gonna defend out there, you might rack up like 2 WAR.
Yeah.
But that's just been the big thing. I think there's been some fortunate batted ball luck, but he's crushing some balls more, and I think that's a big part of it. He's running into more damage here and there, and if he does that, uh, that's going to help. I think bolster that offensive profile overall, and I think we're starting to see Rafaela overall settle in. He's going to be a volatile hitter always. I think that's going to come with the territory, but you're seeing him get his a little bit more often and do a little bit more damage.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the next series, Brewers versus Twins. Brewers win 17-6. And if you could believe it, the Brewers were scoreless until the fourth and only had one run after 5 innings because Joe Ryan pitched pretty well. He started to kind of fall in the sixth, and then Milwaukee just blew the doors off, scoring two in the sixth, five in the seventh, four in the eighth, and another five in the ninth. And they did it all without a home run as Frelick, Yelich, and Ortiz all had 3 hits. But Christian Yelich had 4 hits with an absurd 8 RBIs. And another story, I know this game was 17-6. You wouldn't expect a great pitching performance in this one, but frickin' Mizorowski was a beast.
Huh.
5 innings of no-hit baseball again before allowing 2-run shot to Matt Wallner in the sixth inning. We'll move on to game two. Brewers win big again, this time 9-0. They are playing excellent baseball right now, and it was a team effort once again. Brewers put up 9 without a home run. Yelich stayed hot, 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run. Frelick, Terang, Ortiz, and Collins all had multiple hits, and Collins led the team with 3 RBIs. And Jose Quintana, I mean, what a signing. 6 innings, 3 hits, no earned. His ERA is down to 2.98. Move to game three. Brewers win 9-8. This game featured 35 hits. The Twins had 18 of those, but the Brewers still won. Buxton homered, Rhys Hoskins homered, but once again, Brewers grabbed a 4-2 lead and just didn't look back. Ryan Jeffers homered for the Twins, but Terang's 3-run shot and Frelick's RBI single put the Brewers at 9 runs for the day, and they needed every single one of them because Buxton homered again. Twins kept the rally going. Ty France homered in the eighth to bring it within one, but it wasn't enough. Brewers sweep. And, watching this series, I was like, is it really an indictment on the Twins or did the Brewer like that was just a train that wasn't stopping when it rolled in?
The Twins are 37-40 again now.
Yeah, they
Um,
are. Why do we have to talk about that? It's not important.
they've dropped. What do we got here? one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight of nine of their last 10.
Not ideal.
Yeah.
It's the
Uh,
Twins, they're inconsistent. If you don't love them at their highs, or if you don't love them at their lows, you can't love them at their highs,
yeah.
and you
Well,
don't even love them at their highs.
yeah, exactly. So here I am. I'm doing that. No, but I do think the Brewers, it's more of a credit to the Brewers who, when Christian Yelich is playing like Christian Yelich, it gives this lineup a different layer, right? Like say there's a lot of good pieces in this lineup, and there's a lot of really good defenders and speedsters, and but he's a guy that can just slug for you and can impact the game with one swing of the bat. And it's not just the home runs; it's the gapper doubles. It's just the hitting the ball hard, the ABs that he gives you. It's just a big difference maker. And as he's gotten further removed from that back issue, he has been fantastic. Not even counting Sunday's game where he would have brought all these numbers up. The last 25 games entering Sunday, Yelich was hitting 374, 431, 636, 1,068 OPS, and 7 homers in that span. He's all the way back. And when you've got him swinging it with everything else the Brewers do and the Brewers brand of baseball, they're going to find themselves in the playoffs again. Like it's just what they do.
Also, the more I watch Mizorowski, I don't know if you share this too. You might, of course, watching him much more than me in the minor leagues. It's the most unassuming guy who would throw 103. Like, is he like this kind of scrawny, tall guy?
He is 6'8" or six
Not much,
seven.
a very limited amount of aura.
Yes,
And then, though, the arm just comes out and he's throwing 103 with 96-mile-an-hour cutters. And you're
he
like,
does look a little goofy.
yeah, he looks
Um,
a little goofy. It's just like,
I think he's listed at like 6'7", 190 or something
yeah,
like
for
that.
like a 103 guy, like Yuri at least almost looks, I don't know how to describe it, but Yuri has way more aura than Jacob Mizorowski does. Like way more. But Mizorowski's got better stuff. It's absurd
It's
what's coming out
insane.
of that guy's arm.
That slider is just at 95.
Ghastly.
It just doesn't make sense. And clearly, like, he doesn't even need to have his command on to dominate. But think about the games where he does have it on. Like he's going to throw a no hitter.
Yeah.
I think he's got a great shot to throw one at some point in his career.
The
And
only thing that's going to,
also, the Brewers' perspective. What does this mean for the Brewers now? You just talk about a deadline edition like Luis Heel. If Mizorowski's healthy, and yeah, I don't know what the innings count's going to be, but they've managed it, I think, reasonably well. Talk about an addition, a deadline addition to your team. You just spawned a 103-mile-per-hour arm who is unhittable when he's around the zone.
it must be so tough for offenses going from Mizorowski to Quintana the next day.
That honestly is a great point.
I
That is a
love
nightmare.
those different looks and rotations a lot. And I think that goes really undervalued. Because imagine, you're getting ready to go to the ballpark and you're like, all right, I got to get ready for 103 from the right side. And he's going to be wild. And then you're like, all right, now I got 89 to 90 from the left side, and he's going to be in the zone the entire time. It couldn't be a different look, and you got to face it on back to back games, and the Brewers are going to win a lot of those.
Yep. Yep.
So
And
I
then
love that different
Quintana
look.
to that bullpen too is it's
Yeah.
also just a total change of
Going
pace.
from like Quintana to Abner Uribe. I mean, it's just not even on
I'm
the same
good.
planet of stuff. And it
Yeah,
works.
it
I love
works.
those different looks. And I think the Brewers do as good of a job in their current rotation as any in Major League Baseball. All right, let's move over to Astros versus Angels. Good series. Game one, Astros win 3-2 in 10 innings. Astros got out to a 2-0 lead early on back-to-back home runs from Pena and Paredes. But before those last runs, they would score until the 10th inning. Excuse me. They got out to a 2-0 lead, and then they didn't score until the 10th. In the meantime, Joe Adell homered in the fourth, and then Christian Moore left the yard for his first ever home run. Weird walk-off to end this game. Hunter Strickland threw a wild pitch, challenged by the Angels as a hit by pitch. Confirmed it was a wild pitch. Astros win as Dubon scampered home. Game two, Angels get revenge though, winning 9-1. Jumped all over Walker as Rengifo homered in the second, and then they put up four in the third, highlighted by a Logan O'Hoppe home run. Angels tacked on another, and then Logan O'Hoppe ripped his second home run of the game, his 16th of the season. Jose Soriano was just awesome. 6 2/3, 3 hits, 1 earned, 10 Ks. His ERA is at 3.33. 9. I am curious. It did come out, I think Bob Nightingale put this in a recent article that the Angels are not going to sell unless they
Of course.
completely collapse, which is the most Angels headline I've ever heard.
Define collapse.
That
Because I
I
think
don't even know what collapse is to Artie Moreno. Like
that's
lose
what I'm saying.
40 in a row.
Yeah, like it's got to be legitimate. I think death.
Yeah.
Like it's just nothing's left there. They're legitimately losing every single game for a month. It's
Yep.
the only way that Artie Moreno is going to say, "Oh, I guess we don't have a chance this year."
And in
Um,
game 3, another great game on Sunday. Astros went 8-7. Astros scored all 8 runs in the 5th and 6th inning as the Angels held a 2-0 lead until then on another Logan O'Hoppe home run. Dubon Pena homered in the 5th, and then Houston took the lead, highlighted by Christian Walker's RBI double. Nolan Shanwell homered in the 5th to retake the lead for the Angels, but then Dubon homered again to retake the lead for Houston, and then they put up 2 more to give them some breathing room, and that's all they needed, right? But the Angels did claw back, highlighted by a Zach Neto home run, but it wasn't quite enough. To be fair to the Angels, it's not like they should sell. They haven't been
no,
that bad this year, and they're playing competitive series against a really good Astros team.
they already waited so long. I wouldn't even bother. Like you can't get anything for Luis Rengifo. Taylor Ward, you have one less year of control now. Like yeah, you could get something for him, but like at this point, just try. Like see if you can sneak in the wild card with
Yeah, who
Mike Trout.
knows? Wide open AL.
Yeah, just screw it. Trout put a good swing on the ball at the end of the game. It was a laser. It would have tied the game, but just right at him in center field. I I continue to be floored by Jeremy Pena. This is we've seen him have hot stretches. He started last year really hot, and we're like, oh, it's a little swing adjustment. Maybe he found something, and then kind of came back down to earth and wasn't still had a good year, but it was right on par with every other year we've seen of his career, which is like 2.8 to 3.3 F4 and about a league average offense, which is great when you defend the way that he does and you provide some value with your legs. With today or Sunday's game, he's a 149 WRC plus, dude. Like he is incredible. He looks he looks like a just completely different version of himself. It's really fun to watch. And if you have like when we were talking about the Astros for this year, we were never considering Jeremy Pena be playing at a all-star starters level. We were kind of considering him like an Anthony Volpe type. And if Jeremy Pena is playing at this level, and then they get Jordan back, and Cam Smith has been continuing to get better as he gets more reps. This team, man, I start to buy in a little bit more as the more I see.
And really, I got to give credit to the Astros. On top of it, you already mentioned Pena. He's been awesome, but to be able to just fill the rotation with Colton Gordon, Brandon Walter, and Ryan Gusto, I mean, they're getting outs.
Yeah,
Like, they're able to just keep the Astros in the game, and then that bullpen comes in, and the Astros offense is doing enough without Jordan Alvarez. Like, the Astros have been doing all of this without Jordan. Now, I don't really know what to think of these starters. Like when I watch them, I'm not like, oh, that's a guy you're going to build around. But I also see a bunch of starters where it's like, you're going to keep them in the game. That's all they kind of need right now while they're waiting on Lance McCullers to return back. Um, Christian Javier, I assume, is going to come back at some point.
Eric Getty will definitely be back.
Eric Getty is definitely going to be back. So all they're doing is treading water with the last 3 spots in the rotation, but these guys are good enough, right? These are supposed to be your 6, 7, 8 guys. Now you're 3, 4, 5. But right now they're kind of performing like 3, 4, 5 guys, which is huge.
Yep. Yep, I agree, and that's and then the bullpen. The bullpen's going to do their job at the back end with Hader throwing the way that he's throwing and Abreu. And one last Cam Smith stat. This was from the Just Baseball Twitter, which has been crushing. You should, if you haven't followed that on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, definitely go check us out. But outfielders with at least a 115 WRC plus and 5+ defensive run save, minimum 230 plate appearances. This was as of June 20th. It's James Wood, Pico Armstrong, Andy Pages, Fernando Tatis Jr., Stephen Kwan, and Cam Smith. Cam Smith was drafted less than a year ago. To be in that group with those players right now, even so some of them are young, those guys all got to play in the minors for several years. And Cam Smith's learning a new freaking position. Like he's never played the outfield. I gotta continue to praise that kid. It's amazing what he's doing.
And you got to continue to praise him because we need those card prices to go up.
Yeah, I did buy a fair amount.
There's a secret agenda here. All right, let's move over. But also on top of it, I'm sure you would do it without the cards. I just think it's
Oh
funny
yeah.
too because,
Actually, honestly, I sold a lot of them already,
oh,
but
really?
I'm kind of regretting it because he might be playing big in a big spot for them in the playoffs. Like it could easily happen.
Easily. All right, let's move on to series number 9, Royals versus Padres. Game 1, Royals win 6-5. Bobby Witt Jr. homer to start the game, and then Jonathan India ripped a 3-run shot in the 5th to give the Royals a 4-0 lead. But the Padres just kept clawing back, tying the game at 4. But as soon as they did, Casey answered right back on RBI singles from Salvador Perez and Drew Waters. And Manny Machado hit a home run in the 9th, but it wasn't quite enough. And Michael Lorenzen was solid, 5 and a third, 5 hits, 2 earned, 4 punch outs. Move to game 2. Padres win 5-1. Padres and Royals traded runs early before Arias broke the 1-1 tie with an RBI single in the 3rd, and then in the 7th, Tatis left the yard for the 14th time this season, a 3-run shot which was more than enough to seal the win for San Diego. Noah Cameron solid again, 5 and a third, 2 earned. His ERA is still at 2.08, but
Mhm.
Cease was just a little bit better, 6 and 2/3, 3 hits, 1 earned. 4 strikeouts, lowering his ERA to 4.43. Not a great year, but a good start from Dylan Cease. We move to game 3. Padres win 3-2. No scoring until the 6th, as Randy Vasquez and Seth
Dude,
Lugo had a pitcher's duel. You got something real quick on
I was
that?
just Randy Vasquez. I don't understand.
I don't
I
get
don't
it either.
understand. I love it. I don't get it. He just gets outs.
7 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned. His ERA is at 3.60. Peripherals say he should retire, and
Yep.
peripherals can suck it, apparently.
Yep.
He just keeps shoving. Salvi broke the stalemate with a 2-run shot, but that was it for KC. San Diego just took over. Iglesias, it was all Iglesias. Tied it up with a 2-run single, and then in the 9th, reached on a fielder's choice, scoring Arias to walk it off. Now, Seth Lugo against his former team, 6 and a third, 2 hits, 1 earned, 7 punchies. His ERA is at 2.93, but hard to do that when your team only scores 2 runs. Padres, I thought this was a letdown series for San Diego, right? They have played so many games in a row. In June, going into the series, they had played 18 games in 19 days, including 7 straight against division rivals like the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. And then before that, they had another series against the Dodgers. A couple of series before that, it was against the Giants. They're playing every single day. They do drop the first game, but they showed a lot of energy at the end of the game, and then they won the next 2. That is the sign of a very good team to
Yeah.
me, where you can win series where you're not supposed to. And
Yeah.
that's what I noticed from the Padres. Less of like individual players for the Padres. I thought this was a pure letdown series, and they came back. And now the Royals, they aren't really hitting, and I understand. But the Royals aren't a bad team by any stretch of the imagination. And the Padres took care of business and almost swept.
Yeah. No, and I mean, and they had to beat some good arms. I
Yeah.
mean, they beat a Seth Lugo. Noah Cameron's been phenomenal. It's been interesting just to follow, but I, I'm trying to figure out exactly. I mean, and the Padres are going to be aggressive no matter what, so it doesn't really matter. But where are you going to be most aggressive? Because it's not like they have a ton of assets to work with here. What like I look at the back end of that lineup and I say there, but you could make the case that they could use some more rotation help. Like, where do you think Preller just puts all the chips in based on like watching even the way that they're winning some of these series here?
I think it's actually, in my opinion, I think it's pretty easy what he's going to do. And when I say that, that means he's not going to do anything I said, because that's not what Preller does. Preller is extremely unique. He's imaginative. He is going to make trades, make moves that we haven't expected. But if I were AJ Preller, like, I'm calling the Marlins and asking about a Jesus Sanchez and Edward Cabrera trade.
And
Something
throwing
like
Nick
that.
Fortes too. Fortes can't be worse than what they're getting from Martin Maldonado.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with the catcher position, but I think Jesus Sanchez is a perfect,
Yeah,
guy to put in their corner outfield, and then they'll just kind of get a pitcher that's a rental that's
that
pretty
would
good
help.
just to throw innings for them. They obviously don't really need to do much to the bullpen, and maybe they'll go grab a catcher, or maybe they'll just keep rotating this Elias Diaz, Maldonado,
Ugh,
Campusano trio that's
ugh,
just not working.
nah.
You know, And maybe that's just a weak position on the field for them, right? Not every position can be amazing. So maybe they think, you know what, this is fine. These Maldonado's at least good defensively, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do at
I
the
don't
catcher
even know what he
position.
technically grades out as anymore, but
I'm sure
he's
pitchers
doing
like throwing to
yeah.
him.
Yeah, exactly. Although I saw Jeremiah Estrada looking very frustrated and pissed with him
Maybe not.
during the Dodgers series. So if that is the case, then if pitchers don't like working with Maldonado, he should be gone yesterday.
Yes, I
That's
agree.
like all he's got left
But
is
the
going for him.
reason why he's not gone is maybe because of that.
Literally that. But Tyler Wade cannot be playing left field anymore. I agree.
No,
If you add Jesus Sanchez and an Edward Cabrera to this ball club, it definitely helps fill in the gaps pretty significantly.
I agree. Move over to Mets versus Phillies.
Yep.
All right, game one, Phillies win 10-2. This game was tied 2-2 going into the bottom of the seventh, highlighted by solo shots from Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil. But then in the seventh, Phillies blew it open, highlighted by a Bryson Stott 3-run double where we got a double slide from Castellanos and Real Muto. I love that. Castellanos then added the cherry on top of the beatdown with a 2-run shot in the eighth, and Wheeler was Wheeler. 5 innings, shutout baseball, 8 strikeouts. Game two, this time the Mets supplied the beatdown, winning 11-4. Phillies led this game 3-1, if you can believe it. But the highlight was a Brandon Nimmo solo shot, and then the home run party arrived in the third for the Mets. Lindor, Nimmo again, and Soto went back to back to back to give the Mets the lead, and they never looked back. Soto homered again, as did Jared Young, and Francisco Alvarez hit one of his own in the ninth, but then he was sent down. I want to talk about that. But right now we are recording during Sunday night baseball. Phillies are winning 5-0. Who pitched for Philly? Lazardo shoved 6 innings, 2 hits, 6 Ks.
Nice.
On the Mets side, David Peterson. Rare bad start from him. 5 earned over 4 innings. Looks like Philly's going to get the win and the series win. And the Mets, they're not playing good baseball. They're playing
No,
really
all of a
bad
sudden, if
baseball.
they hold on to that game, they're going to be ahead of the Mets in the division now.
Yeah. And, but again, it's hard for me to there are some problems. Like Francisco Alvarez has been a problem. Lack of slug to me is very, very surprising. For a guy who's what's his calling card? The fact that he can hit 25 to 30 home runs. So the fact that he's slugging below 400 needs a little bit of a reset. But you're starting to see a couple of these arms that got off to really good starts. Right in Clay Holmes' last start, there was a ton of walks. He might not be able to withstand a ton of innings this year. Right? Griffin Canning has started to slow down. Paul Blackburn has, you know, he was good for like a second and then he just got destroyed. Right? David Peterson, who knows? Right? I wasn't able to watch that start. Is
He
that just
still
a
had a
bad start against
2.98.
Philly? Yeah, he
Yeah.
still got a 2.98. I think you're starting to see cracks, but at the same time, none of the cracks concern me that much. I think they are definitely missing AJ Minter in that bullpen. I think that's an issue. But still, it's a really good team, and Juan Soto is just starting to be Juan Soto again. One of those lulls in the summer. You could dive deep into some of the cracks. Cracks aren't that big. Still the Mets. Still one of the best teams in baseball.
Well, and you know who's on his way. Sean Manaea is going to help,
Yeah.
hopefully, as
But
soon
then
as.
Frankie Montas is not going to help. I mean, who
No,
knows? You
I
know
don't
what?
think
I'm
so.
done doubting Dave Stearns. He's probably going to shove. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I
I
know, right?
like that he's given up a million runs in rehab, and then he'll come up and throw 6 shutty, and I'll bet against him and lose, and I'll just be
Yes.
like, "What am I
That's
doing? I have no idea what I'm talking about."
You're going to ask me to pull some numbers from his rehab outings. I'm going to say opponents had a 98 in zone contact rate and an average exit velocity of 100, and then he's going to go 6 shutty in his
Yeah,
rehab.
he's a Dave Stearns is a wizard with this. If he can fix Frankie Montas, if he could fix Griffin Canning, he could do anything. So, again, Montas has not been good in rehab. Who cares?
The Alvarez thing is fascinating. It's like this is what Eric Chavez wanted, right? Eric Chavez wanted, like he wanted to get him being a more complete contact hitter now, right? Okay, I'd rather him hit 210 and hit 30 homers personally with the defense that he provides, and maybe he can continue to get better drawing walks, improving the bat to ball as he matures. It's very old school type of thinking, like hit first and ignore your very clear strength. He's still hitting the ball really, really hard, like very, very hard. And that's the even more frustrating part of it. That tells me that he's just lost his ability to translate that into game power. it's 70 raw power if you're looking at the EVs. It's a 53% hard hit rate. It's a 90th percentile of 108.5 miles per hour, but it's a 52% ground ball rate, and he's not pulling the ball in the air, which is something he was actually doing pretty well in the past. I don't want to put it all on Eric Chavez, but like, it didn't help. Probably didn't help. So yeah, it's tough to see, but I guess they want to do it now, get him back, and assume he can be a key piece for them down the stretch of the season.
Good series win for Philly too. I mean, again, it's not over yet. The Mets could come back. We're only in the sixth inning, and the Mets, they definitely have the bats to do it. And Philly's bullpen is not exactly a unit that I want to stand on and be like, oh yeah, they'll definitely close it out. But as of right now, I mean, the Phillies are going to be probably 47-31, and they just, keep winning games, even though the bullpen is a problem, but that could be easily addressed at the deadline.
Oh, and they clearly are settling in now and not having Bryce Harper because they're so anemic historically without Harper. And then when he first hit the IL, it was like, dude, your whole lineup can't hit now that he's not there. Now we're seeing them, swing it without him and settle back in. And I think that's got to be really encouraging, especially assuming they hold on to this game three against a Mets team that you didn't want to give them an opportunity to get back going again and get that edge back in the first place. You wanted to push them back down even further. And that's exactly what they're doing.
So I think that'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. Hopefully everybody enjoyed. Also, one quick thing, not quite a last word, but 900 episodes. Pretty
Yeah,
damn cool. We just hit that
this is a
mark
lot of
a
episodes.
couple episodes ago. Hopefully everybody has just been enjoying. This has been such a fun journey with you, with Jack. We'll do something much bigger for our 1,000th episode, but it's just crazy to say because, I was talking to our guy, Chris Longo, at Fanatics Fest, and, he was just talking about 4 years ago, right? We didn't have anything, and now we have 900 episodes on a podcast. So big thanks to everybody listening. And again, your support has just been so incredible, and we so greatly appreciate it. And again, we always want to give you everything that we can for free. And the best way to continue to keep all this stuff free, just rate, review, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, like, comment, subscribe
Share it
on
with your
YouTube,
friends.
share it with your friends. And of course, if you want a little bit extra, join the best baseball group chat in the world, our Discord. You can find the link in the episode description. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed the weekend roundup. For Arm Layton, I'm Peter Apple. We will see you tomorrow. With that, thank you, everybody.